I'm Smitha and in today's video we'll be painting a heart filled with flowers together. This is a very simple tutorial. It can be as colorful as you want and you can create this with any supplies that you have at home. So let's get started. So today I'll be using Bombay inks. I have a set of 12 colors. They're really vibrant colors, they're light fast, they dry permanent, and they basically behave like watercolors. You can add water to dilute them, except for the black and white, which are opaque. For today's painting, I'll be using just 4 colors along with the opaque white. I like mixing the opaque white with the other colors to create softer tones. I'm using a red, magenta, a grass green, and another green. And onto a small palette, I'm using an ink dropper to drop a few drops of each color. I don't want to dip my paintbrush into the bottles and dilute them or dirty them, so this works nice for me. The second green color is almost an aqua teal color that is really beautiful. So I'm using 2 paint brushes today, a round number 6 as well as a round number 1 for smaller details. You want to work on either a mixed media or watercolor paper and start with a light heart shape already in place. So what I'm doing first is mixing the white with a little bit of the red and creating my centers of the flowers. So I have 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just marking where I want to start my flowers and how many flowers I want in my heart shape. You can see that I just have centers and dots for some of them. So onto my paintbrush, I picked up a mixture of the white and the red, and then I just go and draw 7 to 8 petals around the center, and I fill it in with that soft color. I want it to be more white than anything else because I'll have a contrasting center. For the center, I'm picking up a mixture of the red and the magenta, and then just drawing little details to make it look darker. Now for this next flower, I'm doing something similar, but this time I just kept the petal shape circular. So there are 5 petals, and then I made the outer ring of petals a little lighter. This just adds some variation. Again, for the center, I add some more details with the darker shade. I'm going in now and adding another round of petals for the first flower, and now it's time for this large flower. I want you to have like 3 flowers in the center. One is huge, one is little big, and one is much smaller. For this one, I'm adding a lot of the white. So basically I'm adding a color to the edge and then dragging it down with just the white. This adds a nice gradation of color or ombre-ness, and it makes the flower look really attractive. And then with the darker shade, mostly a mixture of the red and the magenta, I'm just going around the edge and giving it a kind of folded look. It doesn't have to be precise, we just want to fill this whole flower with color and make the heart stand out. And I like this dark pink color for the border because it makes this whole huge flower grab your attention immediately. Once that's done, I'm slowly going in and adding a little bit more color to each petal. Just the magenta ink on your paintbrush. Draw an outline of a floral to kind of fit that top corner of your heart. It does not have to be a complete flower. You can see that some of the petals are tucked beneath the larger flower, but it needs to be something large enough to kind of fit that corner over there and make sure you don't have much gaps. Now coming down to the bottom corner, I'll paint another flower. This time I'm mixing some of the white into it. I'm just drawing long elongated petals. You just want to try and vary all the flowers that you're going to add to this heart. So the idea here is to just fill your page with color, have fun with your art supplies, and create something that looks pleasing and makes you happy. There are no rules. I'm not telling you to paint flowers exactly. This is just a method that I follow to fill a heart with flowers that looks kind of cute, and I enjoy painting it. For the top right corner now, instead of adding a large flower, I'm adding a couple of smaller sized flowers, and also I'm making these very, very colorful. They're completely red in color, there's no white added, and I varied the shape and sizes of them. But just make sure that you fit these little flowers along that curve of the heart shape that you have. So before we add more flowers, let's start adding some green. Whenever you paint flowers, it's important that you add leaves. The leaves just make the flowers look that much more beautiful. So I pick up a mixture of the green and the aqua on my paintbrush, and I'm just adding flowers, and I'm just adding leaves to each of the flowers that we've painted. Some of the leaves are larger, some of them are smaller bunches, some of them look upwards, some of them are facing downwards. These are the kind of details that make your illustration pop and adds more interest to it. So with our general leaf shapes in place, now it's time to actually go and fill in the rest of the heart before we add more details to the leaves. So I'm picking up my magenta color once more, and you can see here I'm adding half flowers. So these have only 3 petals each, and the point of these flowers is that they define that heart shape so much more better. On the right hand corner here, now I'm enlarging that flower to actually fit that entire space that's there. I like adding square petals sometimes. It just adds a little more interest than regular round petals all the time. So here I'm trying to enlarge each of the flowers to fit into that nice heart shape that we have, while leaving some space for the greens of the leaves. And then by just picking up some water on my paintbrush, I'm dragging the colors from the edges of the petals down to kind of dilute them and give that watercolor look. For this larger flower in the bottom, I'm picking up a darker shade of color. I'm just picking up the red and magenta directly on my paintbrush and highlighting the outline. Now for the leaves, I'm picking up the aqua color. It's called green, but it seems more aqua-ish to me, and adding more details to the leaves. I like adding more strokes, adding a center line. Make each of the leaves look unique and different, just like we did with the flowers. Now we can kind of see the heart shape, can't we? But let's define that a little bit more by adding more green and red details. So with green on my paintbrush, I'm just adding tiny dots in the right upper corner. I'm adding larger dots and design to define that bottom point that we want for the heart shape. And then I'm just going in adding tiny dots all around to make sure you see a clean line to define the heart shape. I like adding little lines, you can add little dots, any kind of subtle pattern that'll fill up all of the background space. That'll work beautifully here. I'm using the green and aqua mixture. You can also use the pink or white, or bring in a different color if you like to for this. Black would also look beautiful for this. So this is basically a great way to define the heart shape completely without leaving any white spaces in between, and make the heart pop off the page. Once we have this, I'm mixing green with white and painting in a couple of the leaves. This gives it a little bit of opaqueness and makes it look beautiful. And then with just the green color, I'm filling in a couple of the larger leaves. This green is so beautiful, it draws your eye to it immediately. I love the way it looks. I'm finishing off the other leaves here carefully, and we're almost done here. We just need to add some final details, and these are all up to you how you want to do it. You can use a smaller paintbrush. I've switched to a 00 or 1 paintbrush here, but you could use a pen instead as well. So I'm just drawing little stamens for the large flower. That flower is huge, so you want it to look attractive. And after that, I'm just going in and adding drops of darker red so that they pop nicely off the page. Now I'm just using the red on my paintbrush to add more contrast to the image. So I'm adding red centers to some flowers, adding red outlines to some petals, and then mixing some of the green with the red and adding more outlines and details. This just adds a contrast to the image, otherwise it'll be just a same flat tone. By adding a couple of darker spots, you're brightening it with the contrast. And now I'm picking up just white and adding more details on top of the flowers, on top of the leaves. The darker tone and the white tone add a nice contrast to the image and brighten the whole illustration. I like adding teeny tiny white dots as much as you can. That is my favorite part of this painting actually. And once you're done, make sure that there are no blank spaces in your heart. And that's our finished heart painting. Thanks so much for watching this video with me today, friends. All the supplies I've used are linked in the description box below. Follow me on Instagram and hit the subscribe button. I'll see you again soon in another video. Till then, happy crafting!